Hey, this is Marquisha with Gully Speaks. So I was just really feeling pushed to speak, to talk. So here I am, and I know it's been so long since I uploaded. Oh my God, I have been going through so much to where I've just been distracted with what's going on in my reality and trying to really deal with what's going on in my reality that I just have allowed myself to get sidetracked from my projects. And that I had to stop. That I really had to stop. Like, I'm a part of this spiritual group, so where we are pretty much accountability partners when it comes to this spiritual journey that we're on. And I had a couple of, my sisters in there saying, hey, where's that magic? Where's that spark? Where's that creativity? And I'm like, I know. I allowed my reality to just really pull me under, but I've definitely just been wanting to talk. But I had a little bit of a realization early this morning, because in that group this morning, one of the guys posted, or he asked the question, I think he said of what, I forget the exact question, but it was along the lines of what love means to us, and how do we want it to look, I think he said, for 2025, or what do we want to work on as far as love for 2025. And it really sparked some things in me. So I know I'm supposed to be a gifter of knowledge, or a teacher, if you will, right? But I've always run from it because it's so exhausting. It's exhausting, especially after I became a parent, and having to pour so much into my own children. I'm just got so exhausted with it. Leave me alone. I don't want to pour. I don't want to teach. I don't want to do any of that. But what I realized is because I've lived, so most of my life with no boundaries, I ended up shying away from anything or anyone that even so much as looked like, it required anything from me when it came to teaching, and that, teaching, right? And I know it comes from, my mother, who always overgave, and I think subconsciously I picked that behavior up because she never had boundaries. And even to this day, she still does not have boundaries, right? She never verbally set me down and had a lesson and be be selfless, self-sacrifice. She never taught it, but it's exactly what I watched her do. And it didn't help, of course, that I was raised in the church. The church and religion is all about self-sacrificing and being a martyr, right? But, even though she, like I said, she didn't verbally teach me these things, I watched her deplete herself for others all the time. And because I did it so much, early in life, again, I just shut down. I was like, don't ask me for shit. Don't ask me to give. Don't ask me to teach. Don't ask me to pour, right? But what I realized is that this was also a way that ended up closing me off from love, because everything is an energy and everything is connected, right? And a lot of, my love comes from what I can teach people, right? And a lot of people do, show love and gratitude in return, but because I was so shut down, to, giving my gift, and so shut down from, receiving as well, I was, shut down from a form of love, right? And it took me up until, recent years to really understand that love looks different, and is expressed in all kinds of ways. And it reminds me of a lover that I recently reunited with. This has been over 20 years. We separated and, stopped our connection back in 2005, I want to say it was. But there has not been 1 year that has passed that this man has not been in me. He always kept resurfacing within me, not physically, but he was just always on my mind, or a dream would come up, or something would always pop up, about him within me. And I could never understand why. I'm like, why can't I shape this man? What is this? So I recently had a dream about him, and it made me reach out, because I'm like, what? Maybe it keeps coming up because there's something I need to resolve. And it wasn't so much about recircling the block, right? It was just, why does this keep coming up? What do I need to resolve about this? Right? And it also could be too that he, might have been manifesting me, trying to bring me back into his world. The more and the deeper I go into the spiritual stuff and understanding how this shit works, man, a motherfucker can genuinely end up manifesting you back into their world, because they constantly think of you. They constantly are pulling at you in the spiritual world, right? But it really made me think about him, because maybe I missed, in our connection. And granted, I was 20 years younger. but I might have missed, his ways of expressing love. And come to find out, this man was full of so many feelings for me. Like, he laid it out, and I'm like, what the? I would have never known. Would have never known, because it was not expressed in the way that it wasn't expressed in my quote unquote love language, right? And at this point in my life, I'm all about clarity. I hate confusion. Hate it with a passion. Tell me how you feel. Say that shit, lay that shit the fuck out. So there's no questions about what it is you feel, what I feel, and what we're doing, right? And that's the energy he's coming with, right? Not to mention the fact that 20 years later, this is a man that I'm dealing with. Not that young boy who was all, excited about women and the big life and the luxury and the cars and, all that physical shit. This was a man. Whew, that in itself was enough to blow me but he definitely is. But we have reconnected, and it's just nothing but fire. Like, we haven't, had sex or anything, because this is all new. This is all within the last week. But just the intensity of it, just the touch, when I touched his hand, just whoo. But just, it really brought me back to him, did I miss, him expressing his love and expressing anything? And did I miss cues that I can see through now? Because I definitely, my own spiritual abilities have heightened, so much being on a spiritual journey. And, oh man. But it just, it really just brings me back to really realizing how I have been so closed off from love, not intentionally, but shutting down from giving out and operating in my own gift, shut me off from an avenue of receiving love, because people that genuinely are hungry and thirsty for the knowledge that you have, they do show their gratitude in some way. And that is a way of love, right? But I just wanted to share that, because that was a big realization for me. Like, love to me at this point, at 40 years old, what does it mean to me? First, I do understand it now to be just the most basic human, a basic human need. It's a basic form of expression, right? It's something that we all need to survive, to live, to feel. We all need it, right? But there are different levels to it, of course. There's just that basic love you have for another human being, right? And I've learned that I am love. I really am. I am love. And I am a very loving person. And just, moving into that space and accepting that that's just who I am, and now being open and facing all of the traumas that I had surrounding love and what I thought it was, and learning what it's not, I just really am flowing more in a space of love. My interactions are more loving. And it's funny, because I am really seeing how even the men that I am pulling into my reality now, they literally are mirroring where I am in my journey. It's so funny, because from the little conversation we've had so far, it's just like, he even pointed it out. He was like, we are on the same page. And in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, we are certainly aligned with where we are. And I can only imagine how much more we are aligned with that we haven't shared with each other yet. But there was a guy that I met a couple months ago, and at that time it felt so fucking magical, because that's where I was. He and I were aligned. I'm growing rapidly. Like, my growth is fucking rapid. And it's funny, because I'm like, okay, I just met this one guy, older guy, a couple months ago, and I felt like he was, it was amazing. It was like so magical. But he had started to close off. And I'm like, number one, I'm proud of myself, because I know it's time for it to end, because now he was so open, and he actually was, verbalizing to me. He was like, I don't know why I am so open to you. You are so familial. He was like, I question a lot of the things I have said, to you and done with you, to you. He was like, and I keep questioning myself, but why am I doing these things with her? So I think the depth scared him, and he closed off. And I started feeling this probably a month ago. I knew it. He started slowly pulling back. And I told him, I said, there's a lot of fear going on with you. He didn't want to acknowledge it as fear, but I know that's exactly what it was. I'm like, it's a fear of him not wanting to continue to go deep. And I told him, I cannot stick around if it's not depth. I need connection. I need depth. And if it's not there, I won't be around long. I cannot thrive if there's no depth in the connection. So sadly, I know that's ending. I haven't heard from him in 2 days. And I feel it. He's gone. Energetically, I can feel it. He left. He's gone. Hopefully he's not, he doesn't cower away to not even giving me an ending, because it was just so beautiful. So hopefully he does at least give me, that final conversation. Because that's definitely one of the things that we both enjoyed about each other. We had been so transparent. We both would say how refreshing it was of how transparent we were with one another. So hopefully he doesn't take the coward route and just kind of like disgracefully bows out and never says anything to me, because we shared some fucking magical times. So I'm a little sad, but it's funny because last week I felt it, and I am in a space where I'm just so creative. I am back in my creative space, let's just say that, and I'm doing a lot of like drawing and coloring things out, and I drew a picture just expressing that I knew it was the ending for he and I knew it was. So I know it's here, but at the time I met him, it really, and I kept saying it to the people in my spiritual group, like, this guy is really mirroring, showing me where I am. He's showing me my growth and how much I've grown when it comes to my interactions with men and, how open I am. So yeah, he closed off, but I am still continuing to go deeper. And now, it's so funny that this guy has resurfaced, from 20 years ago, and he is just like this man, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just wanted to share that little piece. Like, I really am in a different space when it comes to love, what it means, what I want it to feel like. And I really am the creator of my reality, and I can create the love that I want, and I'm doing it. And it's so funny because this guy, he texted me this morning, actually, like my jaw was dropped. He was like, I've studied seduction. He was like, and I never knew it could work on me. He was like, but just your presence of just sitting in the car with me and writing, in my passenger seat, he was like, you full on seduced me. Your presence seduced me. And I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. Give me some feedback. How are you guys feeling about where you are as far as love and what your understanding of it and your experience with it and your journey with it? I'd love to know. So that's all I have. Until next time, keep it classy.